There's a moment that many women misread as chemistry, and it quietly reroutes their dating life. It happens when someone listens closely, when they reflect your feelings back to you, when they seem to get you faster than most people ever have. You feel seen, understood, and emotionally met. Your body relaxes. You tell yourself this must be attraction, but it isn't. Being understood can feel soothing, it can feel safe and intimate, but none of those sensations guarantee desire. In fact, when being understood becomes a primary bond, attraction often drains out of the room before anybody realizes it. This episode is not here to demonize empathy. It's here to tell you the truth that most women will never hear. Emotional attunement alone does not create polarity. Processing together does not create desire. And being understood is not the same as being wanted. If you keep choosing partners who feel safe but leave you wondering where the spark went, this is your mirror. I'm Megan Webster. I'm an abuse recovery coach, a trauma-informed strategist, and the woman a narcissist hopes to never meet twice. This is the Narcissist's Worst Nightmare podcast, where women stop confusing emotional control with chemistry and start choosing relationships that hold desire, power, and self-respect. They were talking about why being understood is not the same as being desired, and how women accidentally neutralize attraction by bonding through emotional processing instead of embodied presence. Most women are taught that emotional understanding is the highest form of connection. If somebody listens, validates, mirrors, and responds thoughtfully, that must mean something deep is happening. After chaos or neglect, that level of attunement can feel intoxicating. Your nervous system registers relief. You're not fighting to be heard. You're not over-explaining. You're not being dismissed. That relief gets labeled as attraction because your body finally unclenches. But relief is not desire. Relief is the absence of threat. Desire is the presence of pull. They are not interchangeable. When a connection is built primarily on being understood, it often skips the element that generates erotic charge. There's no tension, no mystery, no edge. Everything is explained as it happened. Every emotion is processed out loud. The bond feels emotionally rich but energetically flat. And women internalize that flatness as a personal failure instead of recognizing the structure of the relationship. This confusion does not come from ignorance, it comes from conditioning. When your nervous system has spent years in relationships where your emotions were ignored, minimized, or weaponized, being listened to feels profound. Your body reads attunement as intimacy because attunement used to be rare. But rarity does not equal eroticism. Your nervous system is reacting to contrast, not attraction. The relief you feel is the relief of no longer having to fight for space. That relief can be intense enough to masquerade as chemistry, especially if your system equates calm with closeness and closeness with love. This is why connection feels meaningful almost immediately. Your body is not bracing. You're not anticipating dismissal. You're not managing somebody else's volatility. The absence of threat becomes the bond, but bonds form through the relief plateau very quickly. Once the nervous system settles, there's nothing left to discover. Desire needs movement. Relief wants stasis. When women confuse these two, they stay too long to try to force attraction to appear and decide something must be wrong with them for not feeling it anymore. Nothing is wrong. The bond was never erotic to begin with. Polarity requires difference, space, and friction that doesn't collapse when you are in analysis. When two people spend the majority of their connection narrating feelings, naming reactions, and reassuring each other, polarity dissolves. The dynamic becomes lateral, symmetrical, neutral. Understanding creates closeness. Desire actually needs contrast. When someone knows everything about how you feel in real time, there is nothing left to sense. Attraction lives in what is felt, not what is explained. It grows when presence leads and language follows, not the other way around. This is why relationships built on constant emotional transparency often feel supportive but sexless. Everything is processed, nothing is charged. Being understood makes you feel held. Desire requires you to feel chosen. Polarity is not created through sameness. It's created through contrast that feels safe enough to stay engaged. When mirroring becomes the primary mode of connection, that contrast will disappear. Understanding collapses the distance. Desire actually requires it. Attraction fades quietly in these dynamics. It doesn't explode, it just kind of turns off. And because the relationship still feels emotionally close, women assume the problem is them. Desire is not unreasonable, it's directional. It needs space to move. There's a bit of a trap when it comes to mutual processing. It can feel mature, it can look healthy, it sounds regulated, it earns praise from therapists and friends, but when processing becomes the primary mode of connection, it replaces attraction with safety management. You talk about how you feel instead of letting the feeling move through you. You explain reactions instead of allowing tension to exist. You soothe each other out of sensation before desire even has a chance to build. This creates comfort without the hunger. The relationship becomes a place where emotions are handled efficiently rather than experienced fully. Over time, the body stops reacting. There's nothing left to search for. Comfort is not your enemy, but over-reliance on comfort is. Mutual processing removes uncertainty, and it also removes aliveness. Desire does not live in clarity, it lives in sensation. When every emotional moment is resolved immediately, the body never experiences longing. The connection becomes intellectually intimate and somatically dormant. No amount of connection can revive that desire that was neutralized structurally. I had a client in the Black Cat Academy who kept choosing men she described as emotionally evolved. They listened, they reflected, they spoke fluently about feelings, and every conversation felt super deep. But all of her relationships ended the same way. She was bored. She felt guilty for wanting more. She told herself she was broken for craving intensity when she had finally found somebody safe. When we slowed her patterns down, the truth that surfaced was that she wasn't attracted to these men. She was relieved by them. Her nervous system had never activated her desire. The relationship was built on understanding. She felt supported but not wanted. Once she stopped moralizing her lack of attraction, her discernment sharpened. She didn't need more empathy. She needed more embodied presence and space for that tension to actually exist. Because there's a big difference between being held and being wanted. Being held feels like containment. Being wanted feels like an invitation. Being held soothes you. Being wanted draws you forward. You can be deeply understood by someone who does not desire you, and you can be desired by someone who doesn't need to analyze you. Desire shows up in pursuit, presence, and embodied interest. It is directional. It moves towards you. It does not need constant explanation to stay alive. When women prioritize being understood over being wanted, they often abandon their own erotic intelligence. They settle for safety that feels dull instead of allowing desire to lead without apology. You are allowed to want more without emotional comprehension. Being held stabilizes you. Being wanted activates you. These are very different sensations in the body. When holding replaces wanting too early, desire has no reason to wake up. You are not shallow for wanting to be wanted. You are responding to your own biology. Attraction needs space to breathe. It needs moments that are not immediately named, pauses where sensation can expand without being managed. Tension is not always dysfunction. Tension is a charge. When every interaction is clarified, softened, processed, it all collapses, and attraction has nowhere to land. This does not mean withholding or playing games. It does mean allowing your body to be felt without translating every single sensation into language. Restraint protects desire because it keeps the connection alive in the body, not just in the mind. Explanation closes the loop while tension opens them up. The urge to explain is often trauma-driven. Explanation once prevented punishment, and silence once felt dangerous. In dating, explanation removes mystery. Mystery is not manipulation. It is the space where attraction has room to grow. Restraint is not withholding. It is your discernment in action. It is choosing not to collapse the moment with words. It's allowing attraction to build through experience rather than analysis, and trusting that not everything needs to be said to be known. This is a skill most women were never taught, especially after abuse, where explanation felt like protection. Restraint is timing truth, so it lands inside safety instead of replacing attraction. Desire grows through embodied availability, not reassurance. Inside of the Black Cat Academy, this distinction becomes foundational. Women learn how to stay present without overprocessing, and how to let attraction develop without rushing to make it safe. The right connection does not require you to sacrifice polarity for safety. It does not ask you to choose between being understood and being wanted. You are allowed to have both. But understanding cannot be the entry point. It has to be earned over time, once desire has a foundation to stand on. If a relationship starts with a heavy emotional processing and ends with attraction fading away, nothing went wrong. The structure was simply misaligned. Desire that fades early is information for you. You don't need to be understood first, you need to be felt. If you've been choosing comfort and calling it chemistry, this is your moment to call you to change. Being understood can feel grounding. Being desired reminds you that you're alive. Stop negotiating that difference away. If this episode cracks something open in you, good. That means you're waking up to the difference between safety and attraction. Share this with another woman who keeps choosing emotional safety connections that leave her disconnected from her own desire. Hit follow so you don't miss the next episode. And I know that you're ready to learn how to hold standards, polarity, and desire without self-betrayal. The Black Cat Academy is where that work lives. This program is for the woman who's done some healing work but still finds themselves dating the same kind of person with a different face and a different different name. They mistake chemistry for attraction, fall too quickly for potential instead of character, and feel frustrated with their dating life not being up to their standards. I teach you how to implement discernment, dark empath strategies, nervous system regulation that actually makes a difference to date securely, wound healing from past relationships, trauma, or abuse, and repairing your relationship with yourself to start dating men who are actually meant for you. If this sounds something like you need now, the link to join us is in the comments.